Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain.
And I'm Alex.
And today we're going to be reviewing and showing you how to play and talking about Varia. So this here is a Varia starter set. There are quite a few over on their website. I'll put a link to the website down below. This is the one that has the combination of the two characters you see here on the cover. One is sort of a pyromancer slash barbarian, while the other is a shadowmancer slash rogue type character. This is a bit of a dueling card game with some programming mechanics and dice rolling. And, like, what else would you say is in here? I mean, it's definitely programming
with a deck building feature added on.
Oh, well, yeah, you could. Well, yeah, you could do if you get a bunch of these. You could. There are rules for how to build your own decks.
Right.
They come as pre-constructs, though. So this comes with two pre-constructs meant to represent these characters, and then each different starter set you get has a couple other characters.
Right.
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 All right. So before we get too into this, I do want to give a big thank you to the company Guildhouse Games who gave me this review copy of this Varia starter set with these two particular characters to check out and play and review. So. Big thank you, Guildhouse Games. And also, if you're in a position to and like to support the channel, I've got a link to my Patreon in the description down below. I've also got a link to my Teespring store if you want to get yourself some cool Board Game Captain merch. And there's a link to my website where it's a great hub for all things Board Game Captain. And Lynn and I do some semi-regular blog posts over there, so you can check that out. All that's down in the description down below. All right, so let's start with the stats on this. What do you think?
Yeah, let's go.
So, ages 13 and up, I agree.
Okay, sure.
This is a rather, because it's got some advanced concepts in here. So yeah, no disagreement from you?
No, that sounds about right.
Yeah, sounds about right. Players 2+. Now the idea is, I think this is a 2-player game that technically similar to Magic the Gathering. If you've ever played Magic the Gathering, you know Magic the Gathering is really a 2-player game. But there are ways to have lots of other players. It's just that then there's probably going to be player elimination, which is less fun. So I'm going to say yes, technically, but really I'm going to say it's a 2-player game.
Yeah, I can't imagine playing this at more than 2. I think it would be much less fun.
It would be because of the player elimination. But
yeah.
But 2 players, that's where this is at.
Right.
And then for time, it says 30 minutes. Now, I am going to say I generally prefer a range, and I do wish they had a range, but actually that's probably a pretty good average. This is not super long or ludicrously fast. Once you've played a couple games of this, probably 15 minutes to an hour is like where the range I would put it at.
Yeah, it takes very little time to set up, and gameplay is rather quick.
Yeah.
So
we've had games go very fast.
Right. So I would, I think a range would be more appropriate, but
30's in the middle there.
Yeah, 30. Yeah, you're gonna have games that come in under that, but it's pretty good.
Yeah,
good guess.
And a couple of your earlier games are going to go longer because you're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what comes in the box when you get the starter set. So the first thing is the rulebook. All right. So this rulebook, there are some things that are really good about this and some things that are pretty bad about it. So first off, the production is nice. It's got a little graphic novel in it to tell you a little story, which is nice. I assume there's a different one with the 2 characters from each box in each one of the rulebooks, which is really cool. The rulebook itself is not too bad, but there are some things that they kind of gloss over that require a little bit more explanation. But my favorite thing about it, that I think is the only thing that really saved me, because I was having issues with this rulebook, but the only thing that saved me on this rulebook, and we're going to talk more about this during the review, is on the back it says, playvaria.com, learn to play videos, stories and lore, more decks, more fun. The learn to play video on the website that it directly tells you to go to really helps you figure out any of the things that they glossed over too quickly in this book. So it kind of fixes it. I usually will hold it against a game, and I have been in the past, but I feel like I've gotten to the point where now, since everything is digital and everything is online, that the fact that they direct you to the fact that there are learn to play videos over there, I decided not to hold it against this game. But yeah, that's where I'm at. So especially because the learn to play video is actually really good. We're hoping to give you a good idea how to play ourselves, though, in this video.
And then it comes with pretty standard size cards, which I know Lynn is always a fan of, that they're the size of actual playing cards.
Yes.
It's got the character card in it. This is Magnus, the fire barbarian.
Now, the bags did not come with it. We put these bags on them ourselves.
Yes. But the cards they're nice. They're good quality. They're
glossy finish.
Glossy finish. They've got.
They feel thick.
Yeah. They're like a high end or a quality set of playing cards.
You can see
they're similar. You feel it.
They got a good sturdy thickness to them. They're glossy finish. They got really nice art. I'm a big fan of a lot of the art.
Yeah, the artwork is actually really nice.
Oh yeah.
So the decks seem to share some of the artwork, so they're not entirely player specific, but
well, they share some of the cards.
The cards. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the cards. So. But they're really nice. It's really well done. The production on the whole thing is pretty good.
Yeah, I really like the cards a lot in these. So it's 2 decks. It comes with 2 decks. There is one little thing. We'll talk more about in the review. There are a few cards that are used as counters for effects where you actually are directed to cut them in half, which was a bit of an anathema to me. I was kind of weirded out by this. But once we did it, it actually wasn't so bad. We'll talk about it more in the review. But yeah, other than that, all the cards are there. We also have some dice. It has a D4 and a D6 each in 2 different colors, 2 in red, 2 in gray for the 2 characters. You actually may need more than this, and you're going to need some counters too, which you'll see we're going to be using some outside dice and counters for our game. We'll talk more about the fact that some of the components you might want to have are not included when we're doing the review at the end.
Right.
But without any further ado, I think we can just jump into it and show you how to play the game. What do you think?
Best way.
All right. So we'll be right back after we show you how to play the game, where we're going to talk about how it feels and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, so here we are set up to play a 2-player game of Varia. So I am on this side of the table, and I will be playing this character here whose name is Boomslang. And he's a bit of a rogue with a bit of magic type character, kind of a Nightblade, if you will. But he's really cool. He's got 4 arms. He's got all his equipment is set out here, his items. He's got his extra cards that are effects I can give my opponent here, as well as duplicate attacks from the regular deck are set to the next to the deck, and I've shuffled the deck and have placed it there.
I'm over on this side. I am playing with Magnus, who's like a volcanic Viking.
Basically, it's kind of like like in role-playing game terms, I would say like a barbarian.
A barbarian.
He's totally a barbarian.
He's a barbarian. So these are the item cards for Magnus, and laid out otherwise the same. I have 2 item cards, whereas Kaptain over there has 3.
Before we get started for his first turn, though, we're going to roll off real quick to see who's going to be the first active player. So we're going to each roll a 6-sided die. I rolled a 2. Oh, roll again. 2 2s. I got a 4.
Ooh.
So I will be the first active player, which means that Alex will be reactive. So now we're going to get right into it. This is the sort of game that I think is really good to learn while you're doing. So I think we're just going to run you through a few turns and show you how this goes. So for the beginning, the first phase of the first turn, we set our number of action points to 10. We're using D10s on either side of the table to represent our action points. We've set up our 30 life, and then for the beginning of the first turn, we each draw a hand of 6 cards each. All right, so since I am the first active player, I'm going to be looking at my hand and deciding how many moments we're going to have in the first turn. Now, I do this by planning actions. So I can plan actions out either from the cards in my hand or from my items that are out here. Cards in my hand will get discarded once their actions have been used, whereas cards from my items over here are just going to come back over here once they have been used. The number of moments, the number of exchanges we're going to have in the first turn fighting here is going to be decided by how many actions I play. And each of the actions have a cost listed up here in their upper left-hand side, which shows you how many action points they cost you. Again, I have 10 to spend on my first turn. So before I start playing the action cards, though, I do also have to decide movement-wise whether we are going to be engaged or disengaged. Engaged means we're in melee, up close and personal, and disengaged means we are further back. The main difference is, and cards can change this from moment to moment. There are cards that can be played that can make you become engaged or disengaged. But if you're playing a melee attack and you wind up being disengaged, it will automatically miss. So it is quite important to decide whether you are going to be playing engaged or disengaged. I have decided we're going to start disengaged. So to represent this, as I play out the cards here, when Alex will respond to my cards, he has to play them not touching, further back away from them because we are at a distance. So for my first action, I am going to play Phantom's Kiss. Now, Phantom's Kiss costs me 4 action points, though I do not spend that yet. It has a power of 3 and a focus of 3. They are shown in different shapes here because you wind up rolling a die with each of them when it takes effect. So you roll a 4-sided die with the focus and a 6-sided die with the power to show the combination of what it will be. Also, it has the ability ranged written here, which means that with the ability ranged, it can work while at a distance, which is why I'm playing it right now. And it has an effect where it says if at the beginning of its moment, if you are disengaged from your target, this action gets +3/+3, which means +3 focus and +3 power, which makes this a great card to play for my first action while we are disengaged. Now, for my second action, I'm going to play Profane Memento. Now, Profane Memento costs no action points and does nothing. It's more of a placeholder, so my opponent doesn't know what I'm planning because I'm messing with them here a little bit. They've got no idea what's coming. And then as a third action, I am going to play, and it is 1 action point to do so, Skulk in the Shadows, which says this action cannot be combined with other actions, and attacks cannot be planned to clash with this action. So now this is, again, though, it has no effect of its own. These are both secretive ways, and that Alex doesn't know what I'm planning, except for Phantom's Kiss. That's going to be it. We are planning 3 moments for this first turn. Alex, what is your response?
I am going to, because Phantom's Kiss is ranged, it gets +3 to both its
stats, yeah.
Attack and focus, right?
Yes, and because that effect happens at the beginning of the moment, since my beginning of the moment effects, because I am the active player, happened first, there was actually no way for Alex to stop us from being ranged before it's going to get its bonus to stats. So that is a very important reason why it is such a good card to play at the beginning of the turn when I am the active player.
All right, so I'm going to respond to the Phantom's Kiss with a magical block called Brace Yourself.
Ooh, now what does that do?
Brace Yourself costs 4 action points, and it is an 8 in damage and a 0 in focus.
8 in power,
yes.
0 in focus. Okay, so that now it is a very good block, and yeah, I might have some trouble overcoming that. Actually, that's very powerful. Well done. Are you putting anything up to oppose Profane Memento or Skulk in the Shadows? Now remember, Skulk in the Shadows' only ability is that you can't put an attack against it.
Right. So I'm going to put against the Profane Memento is going to get Shield Spear.
Oh, I hate that thing.
Which is a magical attack, and at the beginning of the moment, when this card is activated, I can choose to discard a block card from my hand, which then turns this into a ranged effect with double the power, but it reduces its focus.
Wow.
And then I'm going to throw in, because I don't know what you're doing at the end there. I'm going to put in Sublimate, which is another magical block. This costs 3 action and is a 4/4. And it's just a block.
That's a very powerful block. So now we go into fast actions and fast reactions. So I get the first chance to do fast actions. Now fast actions are just like normal actions, except they have the keyword fast in them. This particular item here, for instance, has fast on it. When you do a fast action, you can either join it together with a card. Each card can have another card joined with it, in which case they get all of the combined abilities and keywords, but you have to pay the cost of both. Or you can replace a card that's there, in which case the card gets forgotten, or if it's an item, returned back to your item area here. You have your discard pile face up next to your item cards, and then your forgotten pile face down next to that in your own play area. As a fast action, I am going to combine Profane Memento. I don't really need to discard it, not important at the moment, but I'm going to combine it with Slice 'em Up, which is a fast action, costs 2 action points, has a 0/0, and it has the ability that at the beginning of its turn, I engage my target, and then I can pay 2 action points to give this action an additional power die until end of the moment, and I can do that ability any number of times. That is going to be it for me on fast actions. Alex, do you have a fast reaction?
I do not.
Okay,
I
so
pass.
so you pass. I get one more chance because we have to both pass consecutively if I want to do another fast action. But you know what? I have decided. No, I'm not gonna do a fast action again. I'm going to stop right there. So the Skulk in the Shadows has been left as kind of a feint because it drew out one of Alex's powerful defense cards, and I didn't actually put anything on it.
Sure.
So now we're going to start with the first moment over here. So I have a 4-point card, so I'm going to go down from 10 to 6 action points. And Alex, you also have a 4-point, so you also have to go down to 6.
Correct.
Okay, at the beginning of the moment, if we are disengaged, I get +3/+3, so it becomes a 6/6 attack card, the Phantom's Kiss. Yours doesn't. Does yours have a beginning effect too?
It does. I cannot engage or disengage this moment.
Ah, fair enough. Okay, so we're going to start off the first moment here with Phantom's Kiss. We're going to roll the dice and add them to their existing stats. Alex has a 0 on focus, but an 8 on power. I have a 3 on each. We're going to roll our dice, add it together, and see what happens. So I got a 6 on finesse, so there's going to be no stopping me because the max you could get is a 4, which you actually got.
I got a 4, yeah.
But now let me explain what that means. When you do an attack and a block, if the attack does not at least equal the focus of the block, then it will be an automatic miss. Now I have a 3/3, that's a 6. It is more, so it is equal to or more than the focus of the block, which is a 4.
You have a 3+3+3.
Oh, right, I forgot. I got the bonus. So it is actually a 9.
Right.
So yeah, you are not stopping me. So that was the first thing. The next thing will be the comparing of the power. Now, I only got 4 power because I rolled a 1 on my 6-sided die, whereas Alex...
+3.
Oh, +3. I keep forgetting my own bonus. So I have a 7 power. That said, you rolled a 6 on your 6-sided die.
With my 8 is a 14.
Which, now, because Alex's blocking power is higher than my attack power, this will be a total miss. Well, it hits, but it's fully blocked. The power does nothing. I will do no damage to Alex. I'm going to discard my card, and Alex will discard his card face up next to our play areas. Now we're going to move on to the second moment. My action there costs me 2, so I'm going to go from a 6 to a 4.
As does mine.
Okay, but now I'm going to pay the rest of my 4 and go all the way down to a 0. I'm just going to remove the die to add 2 extra dice into my roll. So I'm actually going to roll 3 6-sided dice with this. So I'm going to grab some extra 6-sided dice along with my normal 6-sided die and my D4, and I'm going to try to do a really big attack. But before we do it, are you doing your beginning effect here? And again, at the beginning of this, we are in melee. You could still turn it ranged, because ranged does work when you're in melee.
Oh, you moved up into melee.
That's the first thing that happens in Slice Them Up. We moved into engaged.
Okay.
We are engaged. But you can still do your effect, which will make this a ranged card. Range still works in melee, but it also gives it +2/+2.
No, it gives it +2 -2.
Oh.
So in this case, I will not be reducing my focus to 0.
Because
It's the only chance I have
of blocking this big attack.
Yes.
All right, so I want a big focus roll, because a big focus roll is going to help me do a lot of damage here. I only rolled a 1. Oh, no, Alex's gamble paid off.
I got a 5.
Yeah, so I only rolled a 1.
Whiff.
I completely whiff. So in which case, those are going to go away. My action card gets discarded. My item card goes back to here. I do not have enough action points left to play Skulk in the Shadows, but it's really just a placeholder anyway, so it's just going to stay out there for next turn. It gets postponed. Alex, your block requires you to pay 3 for it, which you do have, and then it will get discarded, which means Skulk in the Shadows really did what it was meant to do, is draw out one of Alex's powerful block cards. My Skulk in the Shadows is going to revert to the first action that I must play on my on the first moment of the next round. But in the next round, Alex is about to be the active player. So at the beginning of the next round, we're going to get back up to a full 10 action points here. We're going to draw 2 cards for our hands, and then Alex is going to start us off and let us know how many actions, but it always has to be a minimum of 1, how many actions he's going to play, and therefore how many moments we have, as well as whether he wants to stay engaged, which is where I left us, or move back to being disengaged again.
So, since I can't play
An attack.
I can't plan an attack to oppose this card, I'm going to leave that moment unopposed.
All right, fair enough. So what are you going to plan for the second moment?
Second moment is going to get Fenrock's Leash.
Ooh.
This is if you and your target started this moment engage with each other, this action cannot miss due to distance. So it's not really arranged, but it can't miss for distance because it's got a leash on it.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
So it can't miss for distance. By the way, you didn't say, are we going to be engaged or disengaged?
We are going to be disengaged.
Okay, so pull that back a little bit. Now,
Sorry.
Fenrock's Leash is 2 action cost. It's got a 2 power, 2 focus, and other than its ability of not allowing a miss even if we're disengaged, which we are, what is the other ability there? There seems to be something else.
On a hit, the target engages you. They cannot disengage from you this turn.
Wow, that is something.
So you can't. There are cards that allow you to disengage as a block, and this will prevent those from happening.
Very interesting.
And then my third moment, which is really my second, is going to be Aria's Tarka. This is a ranged attack.
Oh.
On a hit, I get to choose whether or not I discard an item from the opponent's deck or control area, or I can apply 1 round of fatigue, which is...
So now this is an attack, but it doesn't do any damage because it has no power. It's looking to either disable one of my items...
Or apply fatigue.
Or apply fatigue, which fatigue are these little cards here. There's lots of these effect cards that we have. Now, if Alex causes fatigue, what he's going to do is cause me to start a stack of these cards. These are called the stack in my area. And for the stack, usually only the top card on the stack is what matters. But fatigue has a special ability that allows, as long as it is in the top, it allows you to count the other fatigue in your stack. And it has a effect that it gives to all of the actions. If he puts it in my area, all of the actions that I plan will gain a end of moment effect. Now, we have shown some cards that have beginning of moment effects. Those showed an hourglass where the top half was full. This has the hourglass where the bottom half is full. And the end of moment effect is that I lose a life. So it means that I'll lose 1 life for every action I plan from that point on. This is deadly. And if he gets multiple of these in my stack, it's 1 life for each one in the stack. So these are brutal. I have an ability to give Alex one of those as well. But Alex has definitely got ahead of us here with ahead of me by doing that. And yeah, it looks like your side of the thing doesn't really care if we're engaged or not, but I guess from this point on, I won't be able to disengage. So that is pretty brutal. Any other effects, or is it just going to be 3?
That is it.
Okay. Okay, so for my first action, I'm going to play a little defensively here because I've got some big attacks coming my way, and plus Alex has an open spot that he can very easily throw something fast in during the fast action phase, and I don't know what's coming. So to start with, I'm going to take my item, the Ebon Cloak, out. It only costs 2 action points. I'm going to place it against the
Fenrock's Leash.
And the Ebon Cloak is very simply a physical block that gives me 3 focus, which is 1 more than Alex has, so I'm hoping that he'll just completely miss me. That's what I'm looking for here. I want to get missed. Also in a defensive action, in a place where I'm less confident about how this is going to turn out, I'm going to throw a backflip down against the Aria's Tarka. Now, the backflip would allow me to disengage. Of course, we're already disengaged. I don't know what Alex is putting here if he's going to re-engage us, because this card has that extra ability if we start engaged, and we're not yet. So I'm expecting something to engage us. And this will only work, though, if this card misses, because if this card hits me, I can't disengage. But that said, regardless of whether it disengages me or not, it does give me 4 focus, which is only 1 less than the ludicrously high 5 of Aria's Tarka. I'm really hoping to survive it somehow. I have now planned 7 possible action points, and I'm going to be done for right now. Let's see how Alex's fast actions go.
I'm going to pass on my fast.
Really? Well, that is interesting. I unfortunately do not have anything to replace the Skulk of Shadows with, though I would wish I did, which means I'm going to have to pass 2. So we're going to go with what we have here. Now, this one is going to cost me an action point, bringing me down to 9, though on its own, it does not do anything. It really just kind of was a placeholder. So that's going to get discarded. Then we're going to go to the next action phase here, where we each have to pay 2. So I go down to 7, and Alex goes down to 8 and 8. Yes. And now you have a 2/2 attack that did not start engaged, so it doesn't get that bonus. But it's still a 2/2 attack that can't miss due to being not engaged. And I have a 0/3 block. So let's roll it and see what we can get. I'm hoping that I get a high roll on the... Oh, I did!
There's no way I can beat you on that one.
Yeah, I got a...
Oh, I got a 6.
I got a 5. 7 on the focus, which means it is thoroughly blocked. I have avoided
Fenrock's Leash.
Yeah, Fenrock's Leash, which is good because that was crazy. Now for the final action, I lose 4, so I'm down to 3, and you lose 5.
Down to 3.
This could be very, very brutal though now because, yeah, this could put that lasting effect of the fatigue on me.
I have no d6 to roll. I'm just rolling my.
I have one of each, and well, we're already disengaged. The disengage is going to have no effect. I'm just going to get a total of 6 on my focus.
8.
Oh no! Am I fatigued?
You are fatigued.
Okay, so the fatigue, I'm going to put it here facing Alex to remind me that it is a card from his deck. That stinks. That means now every action at the end of its moment will cause me to lose a life. And so far, there's been no actual loss of life in this game.
No actual damage yet.
Yes, this has been a very defensive game so far. So we're going to go over to the next round, where we again fill ourselves up to 10 action points and draw 2 cards. But now I am the active player. I am going to start us off engaged. I've decided to attempt to overwhelm Alex with a flurry of blows. So I'm going to start with a snake bite. That costs me 2 action points. It is a 2/2 attack, and when you play it, you get to duplicate it from your counter cards off here to the side. So I'm going to play another snake bite out. Then I'm going to play a second snake bite and duplicate it again from my counter cards for a total of 4 actions that cost me 8 action points to do.
It's a lot of snake bites.
Indeed it is. And then I'm going to throw out a profane memento for 5 actions. Now this is a crazy gamble because with 5 actions I am going to lose 5 life because of Alex's fatigue, but I'm looking to hit him with a lot of attack dice if I can.
Okay, in response to your
bunch of snake bites?
Perhaps 5 attacks, I don't have enough cards to stop whatever's going to happen.
Well, don't forget you do still have your items, too.
Yeah, I do have the items, but unfortunately, see, yours are so cheap because they're 2 actions apiece.
Yeah.
It's hard to make enough actions to even stop your number of moments you have.
That's the idea. I'm trying to overwhelm you with a lot of
You did a good job
overwhelming.
So I'm going to go for a big knockout.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm going to play my 1 card since we're engaged.
What?
It costs 9 points.
Holy crap.
It's called Decapitate.
Oh my god.
It's a 10-5.
Yes, it is.
And then I'm going to zoom in on that. The text says, when making a focus roll for this action, if you roll the maximum value for 1 or more of the die roll, this action gets plus infinity power.
So the action Alex has planned here has a very incredible effect. It's got 10 power, it's got 5 focus, it's really powerful, it costs a lot. This is an all or nothing attack. And if he gets the top die roll on either of his dice, so a 6 on the power or a 4 on the focus, either one, it gets plus infinity on its power, meaning this is like a crazy all or nothing attack. Not really nothing, because 10 is still a lot. But this could possibly, foreseeably, kill me before I even get to do my other flurry of blows, which is what Alex is betting on. Wow, this could be insane. Absolutely insane. Is that all you were planning out then?
That's all I can afford.
That is a fair point. Wow, brutal. So now I have to think about what I'm going to do in response to that. I really want to get... I would really like to get something very cool going. So what I'm going to do is, as a fast action, I'm not going to combine their effects. I'm going to forget the snake bite because I am on a bit of a budget here when it comes to action points. I'm going to replace it with a shield kick. Ooh. Now the shield kick costs 4 action points and it is fast. It has a disruptability where it says at the start of the action I can disrupt one of my opponent's action if it is a physical attack and has a power of 5 or greater. This is a power of 10, which means I have thoroughly countered this giant game-ending attack with my shield kick. Alex, your turn. Your turn. What will you do, sir? Boring are awesome. This is actually going to show a really great exchange.
I wanted to roll on it, see what happened.
Too bad.
I can't do anything else.
Okay, so you're passing?
Well, unless I could. No, that wouldn't
do me a favor. Just say you pass.
Yeah, I pass.
Okay. So, all right. Well, you could do something fast to replace that. Keep that in mind. Because if it's something with less than 10 power, it won't be countered anymore. Because remember, my thing
that's
only
true.
affects you if it... Remember, this only affects you if your power is over 10.
Yeah, that's true.
No, excuse me, over 5. Over 5.
Over 5. All right, well, since you're going to completely negate
Decapitation.
my decapitate card, I'm going to replace it, so that means I forget it,
Okay.
with my fast explosive charge.
Oh, which now, because it does not have a power of 5 or higher, I will not have as interesting an effect on
So
it.
that's now only 2 action points, and it's a 0/0.
Are you going to do any other fast actions? Or
I'm passing after. That's my.
Okay.
I haven't passed. I'm not going to do any more.
You're not going to do any more there. I'm going to pass. Did you want to do any other fast actions?
No, I am passing as well.
Okay, so we have both passed in a row, which means now we are going to do the effects. So over here with Shield Kick, I roll 1 of each. Unfortunately, since his power is now down to a 0/0, he's got 0 power, 0 focus. I don't get to negate it like I was going to do with the Decapitate. That was a pair of very appropriate reactions you just saw there. Mine was a very appropriate reaction, Shield Kick against the Decapitate, and then his replacing the Decapitate with an explosive charge, because in both cases we negated the major power of the other player's card. So now let's see who comes out on top. I have a focus of 3.
Ooh, I got a 2.
Now, but these are both attacks. We actually ignore the focus. When attacks face other attacks rather than blocks, it's all about the power. My power is 4.
I am 3. I'm 1, so that means I take 3 damage.
Yes,
correct?
you will take 3 damage. I will take 1 damage because of your fatigue you have given me. So do me a favor, discard mine for me. And these guys are going to get discarded. Now we're going to move on to the next action, which is unopposed, which means I just get to roll. I get to hit you for 8 damage because it's 6 plus the 2, but I have to take 1 myself because of the fatigue, and then I will discard that snake bite. Then I do it again for the next snake bite, where I will cause 6 damage to you and 1 to me again because of my fatigue. Before discarding that snake bite, followed by the last snake bite, where I am going to cause another 8 damage to you and 1 to me. This actually is paying off in dividends.
Absolutely.
And then that one will get discarded. It's just a counter. I'll return it to my counters. And finally, the Profane Momentum, which was really there just to as a placeholder, and I wasn't able to put anything on, will make me lose 1 more of my own life because it was, in fact, a planned action. However, I still have a lot of life left over here on my side of the table, whereas Alex, what do you got left?
I got 5.
So that was a brutal turn where I have really stacked the game in my favor because of that flurry of those lots of little blows. Alex is trying to go all in on one big hit, didn't wind up working out, and he didn't have a lot of fast stuff to help counteract all those other small attacks I had going. So that worked out really well for me. And this is how you play a game of Varia. You go back and forth until someone runs out of life. When the life total reaches 0, it is game over. And then you could, change characters, shuffle up and play again. Right. So now let's head back over. We're going to talk about how this game plays and feels, and we're going to rate it and review it. Okay, welcome back. That was how you play a game of Varia. So now we're going to have a lot of positives because the actual gameplay is very fun in this game. But there are some negatives, and we have to draw attention to them. We can't just gloss over them. So, so we're going to start with the negatives. We're going to end on the positives so we can end positively. Alex, would you like to throw out our first negative? What is your first negative for Varia?
I'm going to let you discuss the rule book. You're more familiar with that.
Okay.
So I think that's the biggest problem. But we alluded to it in the intro. The fact that you don't get everything you need to play the game in the box is kind of irritating. And the fact that you had to cut a card in half to make 2 smaller cards when they could have just added large, normal-sized cards to make those cards. Because actually, a couple of those smaller effects cards, they're actually so small they're hard to read.
Yes.
They should be full-size cards. There's no reason to add, if they had to come under it.
Yes.
I asked you if this was a Kickstarter. Because it seemed...
It might have been. I'm not sure.
It seemed...
sure.
The box doesn't look like it. The box looks like a fully fleshed out...
Well, yeah, but this might have been Kickstarted and then they gave it to me for review. I'm not really sure.
But it has that feel to it where it's not quite put together. It's like they tried to save a little bit of money on half a dozen cards and two more sets of dice and but they could have saved that money and not done a comic book. In the rule book.
So, I'm going to...
It's interesting. It's weird where they chose to save money.
I'm going to thoroughly agree with you.
Yeah.
I do agree with this negative. I'm not as harsh on the missing of the extra dice. Most gamers have other dice sitting around. It's an issue. I don't think it's as big an issue. I'm not as harsh also on the missing of counters. Like, they could have had cardboard punch-out counters. Obviously, they're probably trying to keep the cost down. I always have counters around. It's not the worst thing for me. The thing that I think I'm most agreeing with you on, though, the one that I think is the biggest negative, is the cards you have to cut in half. Because that, like, when I read that, I was like, I have to do what now?
Yeah.
I have to cut, like, what? Like, I had a moment of panic.
Well, yeah, I was looking through the cards as you were reading the book, and I was like, how does this even work?
Yeah, and it's like you have to cut the cards in half, and so we did it, and it actually was okay.
It's fine, but there's whatever the reason is for that, it can't possibly be good enough to do that.
So I wear glasses, but I wear them because I'm nearsighted. These are not reading glasses. I have trouble seeing things far away. I have no problem seeing things up close, and I have to agree with Alex. Those cards become a bit hard to read when they get that tiny.
Right.
They really do, and I can't even imagine how they would be for someone who has some real issues with, like, farsightedness, someone who actually needs reading glasses. They'd probably have some trouble with those. Right. So yeah, that is definitely an issue. I agree. Connected to that, the rule book is not the greatest. It could definitely have been better. They make up for it a bit with the video on their website. Everyone has access to the internet now, so I was originally thinking I was going to take probably half a point off the score because of the rule book. I've decided not to. I'm thinking about it and how digital of a world we live in now. Everything online, all these videos online, everybody can watch stuff online. The fact that they provided a video to make up for the problems with the rule book, I decided to not penalize the game for it because of how much I like the game. So it is a negative. I need to address it, but FYI, it's not going to affect my score. Again, because of the video they did online on their websites.
I agree that they make up for a lot of it by having a good playthrough on their website.
Yeah.
But during play we had questions about the way the rules were supposed to be, and
they're not very well answered.
We just kind of like extrapolate from other rules to fulfill what is. Like, should be pretty, like, it shouldn't be surprising. It wasn't a weird effect. The card did exactly what the card did, and it made a pretty big question that took us a really long time to answer, in my opinion. I think
it wasn't super long, but it was long enough that it's noticeable. So that definitely is an issue.
It just stopped gameplay for 5, 8, 10 minutes maybe. Like,
I think you're over exaggering. Maybe 5 minutes.
It was a while. Oh, you were reading it, so I was just sitting here.
It makes it feel longer.
Yeah, right.
All right. Any other negatives?
No, those are it. The reason why they're so interesting though is because they're such different negatives.
Right.
It's really weird. It's really just the rule book and what they decided to do with some of the components. Those are really the only negatives that we have.
So bottom line, rule book issues, lack of components that you will need to play, so you need to have some stuff around to use to play, and the weird thing with cutting the cards in half. Those are our big negatives.
Yeah.
But also, though, and this is important, none of those are about gameplay.
None of them. No, right.
And this is something I always like to draw attention to. When none of our negatives are about gameplay, it's because the gameplay is really good. These are going to have to reduce my score a little bit in their totality. I decided not to reduce it as much because I'm not going to actually hold the rulebook part against it.
Right.
But the gameplay is so good, this is still going to get a very positive score for me. Spoiler alert. Alex, start us off with a positive.
It took me a minute to warm up to it, but the way that they set up the moments,
the programming aspect.
Programming of it, so you have actions and those occur in moments. I thought the moments thing was kind of dumb at first, and then as we played through it, I figured out why it was so important to do it that way. And that's actually, I thought it was one of a negative at first, and now I really appreciate it. And it was actually pretty innovative way to step out the way that the game is the way you take turns, essentially.
Because you have mini turns within a turn.
Yeah. So the turns are broke down into these moments in which actions occur. And it really, the way that the cards can counteract each other and everything, you probably saw it in the review or in the tutorial. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually really cool.
It's great.
I thought it was dumb at first, and now I'm thoroughly convinced about how innovative it really was.
Related to that, the way you plan actions, followed by replacing them or combining them with fast actions to react to really powerful cards, and there's some really cool, powerful cards in there, and you saw some of that in the tutorial, is so fun.
Yeah.
Like, there was that bit where we had in the tutorial where I planned out a bunch of actions. Alex is like, well, I'm going to throw out this action where I have a possible chance to literally just kill you now
Right.
before all of your actions happen. And then I was like, yeah, but I'm going to respond with this other card that's going to be like, yeah, but your card is null and void. And then you're like, well, I'm going to respond with this other card that's going to stop my card from being null and void. And that is that back and forth.
Right.
That back and forth flow of actions and reactions is great fun.
And it happens really fast, so you lay out your plan, and then the actions are resolved like boom, 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 boom.
Yes.
Which is really cool. In fact, they resolved so fast, I was continuing to forget to count my actions.
Yes.
The cost, because you're actually doing things so quickly. You actually have to slow things down, I think, to process everything, because it's...
There's a wonderful action economy.
Yes, very well put. It's efficient. Yes, exactly.
And then there's also this great thing in this where usually with a lot of dueling card games, it's a I go, you go.
Right.
That's not in this. This is we both go, then we both go again.
Yes.
Because you become the active player, but I'm the reactive player at the same time, which means it's not like Magic the Gathering where one person attacks, the other person defends. It's like you plan actions and I plan actions. Both of us can plan attacks and defense. It doesn't matter. But it's just the active player decides how many moments there are is really the main difference. And then,
but then you just recycle the next turn,
right,
and you get to do that yourself. So it lends itself to being attack defense, but that's only it's only like what it pushes you towards, I guess. The gameplay, you can do whatever you want.
But there's a lot of really cool card effects that play off of each other, that respond well to each other. You've got this great action point economy in the game. You've got some really awesome effects. Everybody can have these crazy overpowered cards that do insane things, like that card you played that's like an instant win. But because everybody can have them, it doesn't feel unbalanced, because the game is meant to be crazy like this.
Right, and that's just why everyone also has a really good defensive card that you just hold on to, right?
You're like, oh.
So in case somebody plays the big one. The way that you never feel overwhelmed. You never feel like you're out of the game until you're truly out of the game. Then you can stack so many effects on top of each other that it can really be anything can happen in any single game.
One thing we never got to mention is for combining effects. If you do a fast action to combine it with a regular action, you can never combine an attack with a block or a block with an attack. They got to stay the same kind. But yeah, there's tons of great effects. And the thing that I love about this is this really feels like a old school fighting game like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter 2 turned into a card game in an amazing way. Like this really captures the kind of thrill of the, the programming out is like the combos of hits and programming out a super move, and then someone does a super block and totally negates it.
Right. That's a good point.
And it feels great.
It's cool. There's the synergistic effects you can place on top of each other's cards, and you can plan it out right, depending on how you're engaging or disengaging and what you can do to your opponent. And it's actually, for just having a dueling card game, there's a lot of strategy built into it, and it's not just action reaction. You got to plan it out, and depending on how you stack your cards, it could be really cool.
And then of course you plan it all out, and your opponent's fast actions can totally mess it up on you when suddenly they disengage or engage,
and as it should be.
Which is great. Which is why it's an ever flowing thing in this fight you're having, which is really great.
The fast actions, the passing mechanic is really cool, because you keep doing fast actions until both players have passed, which is unusual, because usually it's, if you do a fast, I'm going to do a fast. That's
done.
But then you get to react. If the other person hasn't passed yet, you can get to go again, even if you've passed.
So you can test the waters.
So that's really kind of a cool thing, and that allows for a lot of variability and interesting combat.
I agree. I thoroughly agree. So as you can tell, now we do have some glaring negatives, but our positives way outweigh them.
Oh yeah. The game's, once you get past all that, the game's a tremendous amount of fun.
It is. It's very enjoyable. And that's the bottom line.
Right.
Do you have a good time with this game? My answer is yes. I thoroughly have a good time with this game. This is a very fun little card game, and I do recommend it. But we're going to get into the specifics of that now. Alex, do you want to go first or second on your rating?
I'll go first.
All right, Alex, out of 10, how many stars are you going to give to Varia?
I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Oh, very good. Very high. And talked a lot about what goes into that. I'm going to go half a point higher. I'm going to go 8. I struggled with this a lot. I actually would go even higher if it wasn't for the things keeping it back. And an 8 is already incredibly high.
Yeah.
But there are a few things keeping it back from being like a 9 with me. I really feel like if a second edition was done of this and they fixed the issues, I would go even higher. This game is absolutely fantastic. I love the programming. I love the free flow nature of the fighting, the action reaction. It's just great fun. Absolutely great fun.
If I could sit down with the people that were working on this game, all I would ask them is, why did you make the decisions you made? Why save the money where you save the money? That's really the only question. It's the only thing holding the game back.
But bottom line, this is a 2 thumbs up review from us.
Great game.
This is a great game. Yeah, that's very succinct. This is a great game. All right, so if you enjoyed this review and tutorial and you'd like us to do more like it, be sure to give this video a like. Share it on all forms of social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.